The current environment, what business schools are looking for, has completely changed now. In GMAT Focus Edition, there are a lot of structural change that has happened, and especially an addition of a new section known as Data Insight. So
Mhm.
GMAT has shifted their focus to a percentile-based comparison. From
Yes.
a lot of webinars in the session that I attended from the GMAT, what they are saying is now they will be heavily focusing on the percentile-based comparison between two students. With the
Mhm.
current business environment, that I would say that there has been a drastic shift towards the way how uh, managers come to a conclusion. They require a little more data-driven decisions in their regular day-to-day task. So I think the role what sentence correction used to play a long time back has changed now. They are looking for a little more critical thinking and data-based skill set that the application applicants should have. That's where GMAT, I think, they wanted to continue with the trends and remove the sentence correction from the GMAT presentation. Well, I think that has made it a little more advantageous for the people who have a really good and a solid data crunching skills. Right, this they have given an added feature where a person, while writing the exam, they could bookmark a question, and at the end
Yes.
of the exam, they could come back to that original question and change their answers. In my quantitative section, I finished the exam 10 minutes before. I had some
Mm.
time. So what I did, I went back through each and every question to verify that if my answer was correct or not. And surprisingly, there was only a single question that was incorrect for me, and I had a chance to change my answer. Well, I would say all the new students who are preparing for the GMAT exam should, with the divide and conquer strategy.
Hi, Saransh. It's very special to be talking to you here, knowing that you were among the first people who have taken the new GMAT Focus Edition on the day that it was launched. I'm Alexandra Magdei. I'm an INSEAD alumni who also took the GMAT a few years ago. So I'm very keen to understand through this conversation how the test has actually changed.
Uh, hey, thanks, Alexandra, for inviting me for a chat. So the GFE has been a long-awaited change that students were expecting for a long time. The current environment, what business schools are looking for, has completely changed now. In GMAT Focus Edition, there are a lot of structural change that has happened, and especially an addition of a new section known as Data Insight. The overall duration of the exam has been drastically reduced. Previously, it was somewhere around 3 hours and 7 minutes, and it has been reduced to 2 hours and 15 minutes now. There are three sections that are scored and have an equal weightage of 33%. So the first section is quant, as it is that we had it in a previous GMAT old edition. The second section is known as data insight, and the third section is known as verbal section. So in the quant section, they have removed the data sufficiency part and added it to the data insights, and they have combined the integrated reasoning section from the previous GMAT old edition and named it as GMAT Data Insights now. So it's kind of like they have clubbed two sections into one and named as Data Insights.
Mhm.
And the data sufficiency question that used to be there previously in the old format, they have changed it slightly and made it a little more logical and reasoning based. Previously, data sufficiency questions used to have a lot of calculations and it required a little more quantitative concepts. But now the data sufficiency part has a little more logical reasoning added to it as well. So in the data insights part, there are now five types of questions that are asked. So let me just tell you what all are the different types of questions. So the first is graphical interpretation. The second is table analysis type question. Third is two-part question. The fourth is multi-source reasoning questions. And the fifth, as we know, is the data sufficiency one. So
Mhm.
in, apart from it, they have allowed us and given us the flexibility to use the on-screen calculator as well. So the data insights, though it is for the help of students, it did not help me to do calculations because my calculations were pretty quick and they were good. And I don't think so that any applicant that is applying through GMAT and giving the GMAT exam would even be requiring to use the calculator. You don't even get the time to use that on-screen calculation. So from that 45 minutes when you are giving the data insights exam, you would roughly get 20 questions. And you get roughly 2 minutes per question to do all of the questions in the whole section. So it gets pretty hard to use the on-screen calculator to do even the simplest of calculation. And there's you are also prone to errors as well.
Okay.
So
Well, thank
these
you
were
so much.
the types of changes.
Yeah, I will follow up with the question. But how much did you score in this new GMAT?
I scored somewhere around 675. It's roughly equivalent to 96 percentile. And what GMAT has done, they have created a table out of comparison between the old and the new edition. So
Mhm.
GMAT has shifted their focus to a percentile based comparison from
Yes.
a lot of webinars in the session that I attended from the GMAT. What they are saying is now they will be heavily focusing on the percentile based comparison between two students, and they want to shift their old uh, uh, kind of context where they used to use a score based comparison between two students. So if a student got like a 720 and a student got a 665 in the GMAT Focus Edition, so their percentile ranking will be compared.
Mhm. Very interesting. So now, actually, even the scoring in the Focus Edition has changed. From what I see, they are not doing it necessarily in a multiple of 10, and they have introduced this new scale, right?
Yeah, they have introduced a completely new scale now. Previously, the scoring range was from 200 till 800. 800 was the maximum score any student used to get. So to make a little bit different, what they have done is they have added an extra 5 in front of every score. So for 200, they have converted into 205, and for 800, they have converted out to 805. That last 5 doesn't indicate any extra score that you have scored in your actual exam. It's just a reflection to differentiate between a GMAT Focus Edition and a GMAT Gold Edition.
Mhm. Well, first of all, congrats. You have a very good score, which is the equivalent of the 730 for the old GMAT. And I wanted to ask you, how did you prepare for this GMAT focus? So did you actually use materials and um, like practice tests that were standardized for the previous GMAT, or did you have any resources to be able to take the new one?
So my preparation began almost 2 years back, and it has been like a on and off type of preparation that was there for me. It wasn't a continuous preparation. I was appearing for different competitive exams as well, not just GMAT. So I scored in CAT as well.
Mhm.
Though my goals were different, I wanted to apply through GMAT. So there were different prep materials that I used. There were few online question banks that I had to use specifically, and I had to take online classes as well. That really helped me create a foundation that's really important for any person appearing for the GMAT exam. Those preparation classes really helped me solidify my basics. And after that, once I was done with my preparation, there was just two things that were left. One was like practicing the questions in a limited time manner and giving the marks before my final exam. So for final preparation and the question banks, I utilized the open source question that were there through GMAT Club. They have like a really vast collection of questions that one can practice from. And the mocks that I gave were for the previous edition, though the official mocks had wasn't released till the time I was completing my preparation. So I used to give old mock exams and practice through them and practice each and every section in a timed manner. And once the official mocks were released by GMAT, I scored somewhere around 655 in both of the exams. I wasn't even expecting a 675. That was something, I guess, because of the pressure that you have in the exam, right? So that's where it really helped me practice. The marks are the most important thing that will get the timing right for each and every section that you are appearing for the GMAT.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And now, how many questions in total does the test have? Now that it got
Uh,
shorter.
right. So the quantitative section has 21 questions. The data
Mm-hmm.
insights has 20 questions. The verbal has 23 questions.
Mm-hmm.
For the breakdown, if I would say the verbal section, there are two sections that it has: reading comprehension and uh, critical reasoning. So, critical reasoning had somewhere around 10 to 11 questions. The reading
Mm-hmm.
comprehension had somewhere around 12 questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in the past, when I took the test, in fact, sentence correction has remained an important part of verbal reasoning. And in fact, I remember preparing a lot for sentence correction because that was the easiest thing I could basically improve in the verbal section. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think has been the rationale behind removing sentence correction from the test altogether? Do you think it's basically to like prevent students from rote learning all these rules and really thinking during the test? Do you think also technologies have influenced this switch?
Right. GMAT sentence correction was the most time consuming part of the preparation for any student, I would say, that is preparing for the GMAT exam. So while they have removed the GMAT sentence correction, the exam hasn't got less challenging from what the previous edition had to offer. With the current business environment, that I would say that there has been a drastic shift towards the way how uh, managers come to a conclusion. They require a little more data-driven decisions in their regular day-to-day tasks. So I think the role what sentence correction used to play a long time back has changed now. So the technology that we are currently using has completely changed now as well. So there are multiple services online. Let's say if it's Grammarly, let's say if it's ChatGPT. So all
Mm,
of these have made it really easy for a simple person who has a basic knowledge of English as well to write a very good sentence, form a sentence, write an essay, and things like that, or create a report. So that's where the skills have completely changed what the real people are looking for. They are looking for a little more critical thinking and data-based skill set that the application applicants should have. That's where GMAT, I think, they wanted to continue with the trends and remove the sentence correction from the GMAT Focus Edition.
that's very interesting, but also for the people who are stronger with words and writing, I find it a huge disadvantage. Like for me, I think I scored the highest in analytical writing. So it seems like the test is more skewed towards like math and analytical type of thinking. But I fully agree regarding the switch in like data-driven decisions. I do it every day at Strategy End, and definitely this is one of the very important skills that we seek in MBA graduates. So, do you want to add anything more regarding the data insights section that has been added?
Oh, I don't think so. I guess that was all that data insight
Mhm.
had to offer, the things that have changed now.
Yeah. Okay. So, how do you see actually the change in percentages? As previously, for example, verbal reasoning and quantitative were 50-50. So, how do you see this switch in 30 for verbal reasoning of the total weight, impacting GMAT takers?
Well, I think that has made it a little more advantageous for the people who have a really good and a solid data crunching skills, right? So I am from an engineering background, and that was an advantage for me. Previously, if we see the breakup, 50% of the overall score used to go towards the quantitative section. But now,
Yeah.
since there are two sections that require you to crunch numbers and use mathematical calculations, right? So we have 33 percentage weightage diverted towards the quantitative section and 33 percentage weightage towards the logical data inside section. So combined, I would say that has skewed it a little more towards the people that are really good with numbers. I would say
Mm.
66% or the two-thirds of the overall weightage has been given to a little more advantage to the people who are from the engineering background. So that's what I think that it will require a little more practice towards your quantitative skills.
Yeah, very interesting. And are there any other changes that you would like to highlight regarding the GMAT?
Well, there
Maybe
are
in the
two
user
major
experience,
Yeah, there are
maybe.
two major changes that they have done towards this GMAT Focus Edition. One is they have given an added feature where a person, while writing the exam, they could bookmark a question, and at the end
Yes.
of the exam, they could come back to that original question and change their answers. So there are three chances that you are given for each and every section. If let's say I appeared for the second question and I thought that it wasn't the correct question at the end, or even if I have some time and I want to come back to the question and verify what I marked, so that I can do for three new questions as well. So if I would tell you that when I was writing the exam, there was a duration where in my quantitative section, I finished the exam 10 minutes before. I had some
Mm.
time. So what I did, I went back through each and every question to verify that if my answer was correct or not. And surprisingly, there was only a single question that was incorrect for me, and I had a chance to change my answer. So though I scored 21 out of 21 and 100 percentile in the quantitative section, that gave me an added advantage with this feature in the GMAT Focus Edition. While giving the mocks, there was a situation where I was scoring somewhere around 20 out of 21, and it drastically reduced my score. So if I was scoring 90 for 21 out of 25, or 21 out of 21, I was scoring somewhere around 86 for getting 20 questions correct out of 21. That single question could have drastically reduced my score in the actual exam. So
Mhm.
that's what I think is one of the best features that GMAT has added it in the GMAT Focus Edition.
Yeah.
And there's one more change where previously in the previous test, people had to select five universities even before appearing for the GMAT exam where they want
Yeah.
to send their score.
Yeah.
Now they have changed the procedure. You have to give the exam, you get an unofficial score report at the center, and then once you get the official score report after 2 to 3 days after appearing for the exam, you have to use MBA.com's website to select the list of schools where you want to send your score. So that has given you a added advantage where you
Yeah.
are preventing the unpredictability of your score.
Yeah. Very interesting, actually. I really like the fact that test takers can actually go back and change their answers. Unfortunately, this was not available when I took the test. So we have learned that GMAT Focus Edition is a first-hand experience at the test, and is something many students who will take the test in the future will benefit from. So I wanted to ask you if you have any preparation tips for the GMAT that the candidates who just started preparing for or are looking to prepare for the new GMAT would like to hear.
Well, I would say all the new students who are preparing for the GMAT exam should use the divide and conquer strategy. First, they should analyze the weak spots that they have and practice the questions for the section which they are weak. in a consistent manner without worrying about any timings. Once they have got a good accuracy on their sections which are weak, only after that they should start preparing in a time manner. And mocks here are very important when you need to practice and simulate what actually will happen during the exam. So I think that's what are the two things that are really important for any new applicant or a person who's appearing for the GMAT exam in their preparation journey.
Thank you, Saransh. And also one more question that I'm curious about. Now that you can actually go back to the questions that you kind of flagged, I'm wondering how is this actually affecting the algorithm? Because we know that in the previous test, it was a computer adapted test. So the questions that you get depend on whether you answered the first questions correctly. And these first questions are going to define your level of difficulty for the next 10 questions. So how is it for the new version? Is it somehow
So
affecting the, yeah.
right. So previously, the scoring algorithm used to work in a way where if you get a question right, you will get a question that is slightly at a higher level of difficulty than your previously correct question one. So if you, in the GMAT Focus Edition, if the question you marked is as incorrect and you have bookmarked that answer, so the next question that you will get is a question that has a little less difficulty level from the previous one. So that will definitely reduce your overall score because you got that harder question incorrect. But what GMAT is doing with their new algorithm is right, when you go back and correct that answer right, they will
Yeah.
add that much of the score in your overall scoring algorithm. It will basically it will aggregate the score for that question that was supposed to be added in the original scenario. But since you got a question of a slightly less difficulty uh, because of that incorrect question, so that overall reduced your score, I would say.
Okay, very clear and interesting. Well, thank you, Saransh, for your insights. From February 1st, 2024, I believe GMAT will fully switch to the new Focus Edition. So I would like to wish everyone who is taking the test good luck and to make sure they are preparing for the new version and keep all the tips and tricks in mind.
Right. Thanks, Alexandra, for having me.